First of all, thank you so much for taking time out, Kumar, and talking to the entire student community. You are awesome, and the kind of things that you've been telling about HEC, they're awesome. We would love to hear more and more about your experiences. It was amazing working with you. You're very down to earth. You're very open to coaching. You're very open to learning. So thank you. My first question for you, Kumar, is that with whatever is happening right now, when do you see the industry gearing up for hiring internationals?
So, in whatever interactions that we've had with people who are currently working, people who also got fired at one point recently, uh, the main point that comes out is that there is very little clarity on what's going to happen beyond 2 months from now. And I think that is something that we have to live with. That kind of uncertainty has to be built into whatever we plan for ourselves. And from a very MBA perspective, I think hiring is not going to be as conventional as we might have thought it was going to be. I think on campus openings, as great as they are and as easy as they are to get placed into, are going to shrink a lot. And it's going to depend a lot on networking now on, way more than it was earlier. So I think right now what we are trying to do is reach out to alums, reach out to companies and all, trying to show the kind of projects that we can bring as teams in ourselves. At HEC, we started a pro bono consulting project, or a pro bono consulting company, if you might say so, that students in groups would pitch projects to companies which are in need, and that could help us, get a line in with them and try to help them out and try to show them what we are actually planning, what academia has actually evolved us to think like. So, and I think those are the things that might work way more than conventional things like applying on LinkedIn or meeting people at recruitment fairs or whatever, because those are not going to happen. We used to have at least 5 big recruitment fairs, which used to be industry specific all through the summer, and all of those are gone. So the conventional recruitment, the conventional ways of getting a job are changing now, and I think we need to embrace those changes and plan our strategy accordingly. And the biggest thing to do right now is to factor in all that uncertainty. And a trend that I can see within my class is that more and more people are being pushed toward entrepreneurship. More and more people are willing to take those risks because normalcy in itself is so risky now, as far as job hunting is considered, right? So people used to have ideas, people used to work on projects to submit for classes, like strategy for branding. We used to work with a lot of startups, and then a lot of us started having so many ideas, and people are actually making them happen. People are creating their MVPs and trying to see how a startup actually works. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, we'll try to see how a recruitment would work, right? But that's a big change that I can see, and people, it's really demotivating to not realize that whatever you thought of might not happen. But within itself, I think there are a lot of opportunities, and it's a great place to be, to realize that those opportunities exist. And if I'm going to make the most of them, it's probably here with these people. Yeah.
I remember one thing that when you and I were working together, and when I was working on your application story building, you eventually had two options, Duke and HEC, and you asked me as well. And I said,
Yeah.
The other one is a better option, and you still
Yeah.
said, I'm going to go to HEC. And now you have great things to talk about HEC. Can you tell me more about how HEC culture is supporting you, or the entire system is supporting you during these times? Come on.
Okay, I'll try to walk you through how the past 2 months have been, and the things that I really liked and things that could have gone better. So it started in the second week of March, when it was the numbers for COVID were just going up, and there was no clear directive from the government. But students just stopped coming to class, and all classes were automatically live casted on Zoom. So close to a classroom of 40 people would have like 10 or 15 in attendance, and everyone else would take them on Zoom. And the next week onward, classes stopped altogether, and it was decided we had exams coming up. Right from 17th we were on lockdown, and from 24th we were supposed to have the final end term for the core, and those exams were pushed by a week. all of them were put online, and we had a lot of discussion around how the exams were going to be graded, if all of them were going to be open book or not. And there was a clear directive from the administration that the MBA timeline will not suffer apart from this 1 week delay, and that the academic rigor of it will not suffer because of it being online. So to compensate for exams being online and for us getting slightly more time for them, and there not being strict vigilance, exams were actually made more difficult. And I think they would have been easier had I taken them in person. And every student was given an option to take exams in 2 different date settings. So if you're not able to take an exam today, you can take it next week. It will be the same difficulty. It will be graded similarly, and all those things will be taken care of. And the term actually ended way better than it would have if the school wouldn't have done anything, because people were running away. There were messages from the dean asking us to leave campus, and it started with, I request you to go home, and then it ended with, if you're not able to go home, then we'll take care of you the best way we can. But the uncertainty of it was clearly mentioned, that we do not know how well we'll be able to take care of you. So, and by that time, it was already too late to go back to India. So there are close to 100 people from India across courses on campus right now. And then when the term ended, we had a week's break, and that's when it started to sink in. That's when we started realizing that now the internships that people already had are in jeopardy, and slowly offers started they started rescinding offers. A lot of the processes that were going on were stopped. I had an interview with Facebook, and that did not happen because the office shut down itself. And so things kept going on like this. And then that's when we realized that something needs to be done. And another thing that happened here in France was that a strict lockdown was imposed, and the guards on campus did not allow a lot of us to gather. And things really started getting bad. You had to be in your room the whole time. You could not be 3 people in a room. And that's when the student community really took things to themselves. It was Easter very close by. So we started with just placing chocolates out of everyone's rooms, and that was the dean's idea. So he made available to us chocolate rabbits, and we put them out for everyone. Then the student council got really active, and we started having grocery supplies. We started having a schedule where everyone could fill up a Google Sheet, and a truck would come by with milk, dairy, cheese, and vegetables and fruits and whatnot. And you could just go and get yours. The supermarket right across the road from the main gate is a really big one. It supplies to the whole town, and that was instructed. They were told that there are around 500 students on campus right now, and they should have enough supplies to cater to all of us, because the canteen on campus was closed. So these are the things that were started immediately when people realized that this is going to be for some time. And this was sometime in the beginning of April, the first 3 weeks of April. And then after that, we settled in. These things became routine, that you're saying hi to people when you go to pick up your eggs, or you're going out on a run, and then you see one of your friends arguing with the guards because 2 of them were together. But even the guards were told to, cohabitate somehow. It was a difficult time. It was difficult for them as well. The campus was made secure. Even students who did not reside here could not come in. Even if you lived right across the road and you did not have a residence on campus, you could not come in. So people who did not live on campus but lived close by moved back in, because this place in itself was made secure. We could go out within campus without an attestation. There's a lake, there's a huge garden, there's a park. You could run, you could exercise outside. But to make that happen, we had to lock campus down. So access cards were blocked for anyone who did not reside inside. And for 2 months, we within our small ecosystem were kind of quarantined. And after all of this initial shock, after making sure that normal life is operational and that people are comfortable, we started looking at ways of, salvaging whatever experience had been lost. So apart from classes, apart from all of those projects and assignments, we started to get those clubs active. people who were elected late in the term last year were called back up, and people from all over the world are now trying to reach out to professionals, to recruiters, to whoever they can to just talk to us and tell us what's happening, because we've been learning about so many new things. I never knew what private equity was, and now I can probably model something up and sell you something. So I want to know how those people are now reacting and now working in their industry. So even professors, they have a lot of reach. They are helping us out. So that's what is currently going on. So from making sure that everyone was able to live and survive this, we've come to try to, make sure that the academic experience of it comes back and that we start learning whatever we were missing out on, I think.
Kumar, a lot of people. So you had consulting stories on your essays, I remember, and a lot of people want to look for consulting internationally. What suggestions do you have for applicants who are a year, two away from starting their MBA and they have consulting as a career in mind? What suggestions do you have for these MBA aspirants?
So I think I'll try to break it down from two perspectives. One is from the school's perspective, who's where you're going to go study, and the second will be from a consulting company's perspective, where you would want to work afterward. So firstly, from the school's perspective, I think especially for people from India, GMAT, there's nothing that beats a great GMAT score. And that can be seen across intakes, across populations. We have the largest proportion of the population is from India here, and GMAT is off the charts as compared to anyone else. Even I think people, no one compares. So GMAT is very competitive if you apply from India. So get a good GMAT score, as good as you can. Secondly, from the school's perspective, international experience trumps GMAT. So if you're an Indian person, if you're from India and you're not able to get that GMAT, in international work experience, if you can get it for a year or something, if not some kind of a project, even if it's pro bono, a freelance kind of a job where you just talk to people or get the opportunity to travel somehow. Apart from holidays, if there's work experience that is done internationally, it needs to be highlighted very much. And that is what gets scholarships as well. In my opinion, GMAT does not do anything for scholarships. At least from an HEC perspective, that is what I've come to realize. So, yes. Thirdly, entrepreneurial experience. If you have an idea, if you're working on it, take a few classes on LinkedIn, how to start a startup, how to create a minimum viable product and launch something, make something happen, talk to people. First of all, you don't know where entrepreneurial ventures can go these days. And secondly, entrepreneurial experience is very valued. Working at a startup is also very valued. I think it's more valued than working at the big brands or at the big consulting firms. If you've been a part of a startup since the conception phases of it, or if you've owned a product within a big firm, I've just digressed a lot. If you've been a part of a startup is a very different thing from owning a product at a big firm. But even if you've done that and you can project that in a very good way, I think that is very valued by schools and recruiters alike. People who have lean startup backgrounds, people who have search engine optimization kind of backgrounds, these things are really hot and recruiters really look out for such skills. And a lot of people in India actually come with these skills because the startup culture is really good in our country. And a lot of people I used to meet in Bangalore as well had those technical skills that were required, that current companies are currently seeking. And that is something that I realize the technical skills are still very valuable within MBAs as well. If you know SQL, if you know search engine optimization, if you know how lean works or how operations can be optimized, then on paper, and then that's really valuable for companies. Third, I think that I already made that point that you should join a school that is going to take classes in person. I think you need to make it very clear with the school that if classes are not going to happen in person, you have an option to get your money back or defer your term. I think getting the money back is something that schools should now be open to. That conversation is happening at an inter-school level within Europe, I think, within the MBA schools in Europe. And we have a committee that is a part of that. So schools are also in having those conversations of returning the fee that they might have charged, but not at a HEC level, but this is happening at a inter-school level within your MBA programs right now. And something that I cannot stress enough at a very personal level, I don't know how much you can tell it to the school, but as applicants, please talk to students and alumni, something that Jatin has taught me and something that has been very, very valuable. It is the most uncomfortable thing to do. It is very bad when you just have to cold call people and they do not reply. And when you have to just talk to someone for the sake of asking about their school, I don't know how many people are very happy to talk to you when they're going through all of this because of COVID and whatnot. But please do talk to people. And that is something I never knew what fit was. And I think I still will have problems putting it down on paper. But when you talk to people from a school, you realize what they are about, what they are going through, and what their day-to-day looks like, and what they think about their future as well. And when you start associating with those things is when fit actually must happen. And you cannot write it down on paper. You can just experience it, and that'll show on your application somehow. I don't know. But please do talk to people, talk to alumni, and see what's happening. And I don't know how open professors must be to it, but if you talk to one of the professors as well and know what you're talking about, that can be a really great experience as well. But I don't think that professors have as much time, but if you can get your hands on a professor and get some time, that would be really good. So those are some points that I would like to say from the school perspective. From recruitment, I think it's nice to have good things on your resume, but that's as far as it takes you. Mostly, it's about what you talk about during your interview. It's not about how many cases you've cracked. It's about that one case and how well you expressed your thoughts. It's way more about knowing what to say, knowing when to not say, and having that practice. So doing mock interviews, and again, talking to people from the company, just getting a better understanding of what's going on beyond what they publish online. I think that's what recruitment is about. And right now, it's so uncertain. Even when you see Uber has to fire people, it's really heartbreaking. Uber was the startup that we all grew up looking up to, and that started going down there. So I don't know what to say from a company point of view beyond just prepare well and make sure that you apply whatever you've learned during your classes, because these days classes really teach you what to say during interviews. I think that's something that I did not expect earlier. I could really take pieces off of my classes, things that professors have taught me, and directly pull them up in interviews and take the conversation to a more constructive point.